Hi, Monica Melpass here at the New York Stock Exchange for New to the Street and FinTech TV, and I am delighted to welcome back Lantern Pharma President and CEO Panna Sharma to talk about some exciting new developments we spoke about 3 weeks ago or so, and even since then, things are changing rapidly. If you don't know, for the uninitiated, Lantern Pharma is an AI company that's developing cancer medicines with drugs in clinical trials. Give us some of the highlights. Just recap 2025 because you've had explosive growth and wonderful new developments.
Yeah, 2025 has been an exceptional year for us and also for AI and cancer. You know, we were fortunate enough to see a lot of our ideas go from theory to actual practice in clinical trials. We've dosed now nearly 100 different patients over that in different clinical trials. And the team has been able to see the response to our drugs of these patients. We've been very fortunate to have some, I think, life-changing outcomes for certain patients. So we saw this year a patient have a complete metabolic response after 2 cycles of dosing with one of our drugs, and he had a very aggressive lymphoma. We had several patients who we extended their life meaningfully with another one of our drugs in ultra-rare cancers where they really had no hope going into the trial.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and several of them continue to dose on the drug, which is even better.
Right.
And we also expanded another drug into Japan and Taiwan.
Okay.
To people who don't smoke but still get lung cancer, and we've been able to have a meaningful improvement in their progression-free survival. So seeing this is really great because you can see how your AI can be used for good. But at the same time, our AI team has been working to bring the platform to the next level. And as we all know, the technology around AI is catapulted.
Absolutely.
And as a consequence, so has our AI platform.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah,
now, when your company started out, you did use your AI platform to rework and develop some abandoned or failed cancer drugs to accelerate their development. But since then, you've added more new drugs that are currently in the pipeline. Let's talk about some of those.
Yeah, that's a great question. The company was initially started, the heritage was to find drugs that were interesting, but somehow didn't actually get across the finish line.
Okay.
But as we developed the platform, and after I came in as CEO, we thought, well, the same approach can be used for totally new drugs. And so we have 2 first-in-human drugs in clinical trials. One of them we didn't even have when we went public, and they've been transformative. So our mission now is really generation of new cancer medicines using our AI platform, regardless of whether they've been abandoned or whether they're totally new. And one of the big initiatives we started in late 24, we continued in 25, is an entirely new class of drugs that investors can look forward to next year called antibody-drug conjugates.
Okay.
And there are quite a few that have been approved, about a dozen or so in cancer. But this is an entirely new class of drugs, very exciting because of the power and precision of an antibody, but with the potency of a very targeted payload. And so it's kind of like a 1-2 punch in cancer, and so that's what our next generation of drugs will focus on. So yeah, for us, 2025, we got into trials, we saw meaningful improvement in patients, our platform is grown by leaps and bounds, and also we're investing in the future into new drugs as well.
Terrific. Now, R&D is so expensive. It really is astronomical in price, which is why many of the bigger pharmaceutical companies, invest for years and decades before they see an outcome. How is it that AI is transforming that and that you're able to see quicker outcomes?
Yeah, I think early stage development, Monica, has totally changed.
Okay.
And if you're a cancer company or even in many other disease areas also, the use of data and AI, I think, can crush early stage development from the typical multi-year, 3, 5, sometimes even 7-year cycle down to maybe a year or 2. Maybe
oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Massive.
It takes 1/7 the time to get it to last.
Yeah, I mean, I target
stages.
1/7, 1/8 of the time. What we've seen, in fact, we have a drug called LP-284. That drug was not invented, not manufactured, didn't have any status when we went public in 2020.
Okay.
In late 2021, winter 2021, we had some ideas about it. We published on it, we developed the drug, we filed new patents, we manufactured the drug, and it went into a trial. And then this year, one of the patients benefited and got a complete metabolic response. So just in that period of time.
5 short years.
Yeah, we've
Incredible.
gone from an idea on a whiteboard, literally
right.
on a whiteboard, in the winter of 21 to now in the winter of 25. We've got 2 orphan indications for the drug. We know that it works. We validated its mechanistic insight, and it's actually helped save a patient. So,
my goodness.
Yeah, and we spent probably a fraction of
right.
the cost. A typical process for that probably would have cost, anywhere between $10 and $50 million. We spent less than 5.
1/10.
1/10.
That's incredible.
That includes manufacturing cost.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That truly
So
is
R&D
earth-shattering.
Yeah, R&D can be completely crushed with the use of data and AI. But all this requires a great team.
Of course.
Right, it's not magic. You got to have a great team, great people who really believe in your mission and are really dedicated and want to build the right tools and do things in great ways. And so, the right team and the right technology, you can accomplish a lot. And I think medicine is the next forefront. I think we're living in what I like to think of as really the start of a golden age in medicine.
Okay.
Because all this data and AI at the fingertips of anyone who wants it is very powerful.
Right, right.
And we've never had this before.
I mean, we would be expecting breakthroughs after breakthroughs.
And that's what's going to happen.
Wow. Well, that's exciting, especially with cancer. All of us are frightened of that. We all have family, friends, colleagues who have suffered from cancer. So to be able to bring them a better quality of life or to completely upend and eradicate their cancer, that is really, you're doing the work of the gods.
Oh, actually, our team is in clinical trial sites. Most importantly, this is how data and AI can be used for good.
Okay.
And that's a big thing that we always like to think about, is how can we create AI and platforms that are actually going to do great and amazing things that we all want to do.
Right.
Like no cancer biologist or scientist or drug developer comes into the office or work and thinks like, I don't want to have a productive day.
Oh.
Never.
Right.
They always want to be the best possible scientist they can be.
Absolutely.
The best developer. They want to get done 10 years of work in 1 year. They want to get done 1 year of work in 1 month. Ambition is part and parcel of the trade of doing this kind of work. And so now that you have data and AI that can help you get there, it's very powerful.
Exciting to get to the office.
Yeah.
You can't wait to get there.
You can't wait.
Exactly.
And so that's what we've built our platform. So even on our own team, it used to be the biology people had to go talk with the data engineers and have to talk with the software people. But now, what we've done with our platform is we've taken it to a whole nother level. And again, through the power of large language and large quantitative models, scientists can sit at their desktop and just ask questions and talk. And you can download your entire brain, literally, into the AI. And the AI will think through all the problems you're thinking about, but you have to go to the bathroom, you have to go to sleep, you have to take a break.
We're humans.
We are humans. But imagine now you have the top 10,000 cancer scientists at your fingertips in a box, working on your problems 24 hours a day. So that's what we've developed. So we're launching a totally new platform early next year. In fact, we've betaed it now, which is pretty exciting, to allow the development and research into every rare cancer.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so this is an initiative we had. As a small company, we're about 20 people.
Okay.
We have 5 orphan drug designations. We have 4 rare pediatric designations, and we have 2 fast-track FDA designations.
Okay.
So it's a lot. It's 11 designations.
Yes.
And we like to really think about what is the data required to get these designations? Why does this drug work better in this cancer, not in that cancer, and how, and why, and what's the mechanism we can exploit? And how can we go after these? Now, rare cancers account for about 25% of all the deaths every year.
Oh.
They're very deadly because there's not a lot of cures for them.
Exactly.
Right? They're rare. But also because they're rare, there's not a lot of data.
Right.
And because there's not a lot of data, there's not a lot of studies. Not a lot of studies, you don't have a lot of mechanistic insight or models.
Okay.
And we thought, what if we could change that, flip it? And so what we did is we spent the year developing a highly curated set of databases that allows this AI now to think the way that our team or rare cancer scientists would want to think.
Okay.
And it has access to billions and billions and billions of raw data points.
Far more than a human could collate, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, and it has
assess.
all the genomic information.
Right.
It also has all the medicinal information and chemistry information.
Oh my.
And clinical trial information. So even in our team, we would go to different groups.
Okay.
The chemistry, the biology, the clinical trials, we get them together, the translational scientists, and it becomes a process. You know, drug development is a real interdisciplinary teamwork process. But now imagine you have that team at your disposal, all of them. So we said, can we really do that? So we started, and we've been absolutely amazed at the output.
Okay.
So people were even internally, we're like, this might be a little more than we want to chew, because our scientists would have to go to our AI people, and they'd sit together and ask questions and go through these, crazy sessions, which were great, which is how teamwork is built. But what we said, well, what if you didn't need this? What if we could just use an open AI-like interface where you can just ask it the question? And we said, well, you're not going to ask OpenAI or Claude because hallucinations, and you go to those tools and they'll tell you, coffee and
everything else,
yeah,
of course, right?
It cures cancer, which
too much.
Doesn't. And yeah. So we said, well, let's just rethink that whole process. Let's use our stuff, our models. Let's put them on steroids.
Okay.
Put them all in the cloud, and then put a natural language interface and natural quantitative interface, and make it talk to us the way we want to be talked to. We don't want to have a bunch of fluffy language. We want to have
specific, of course.
And we want to know how you think. We want to know what data you use. We want to know the process. We want complete and the results are outstanding.
It's transformative.
We have now the ability to develop drugs from point A to point Z, literally, for over 439 rare cancers.
That's mind-boggling.
Mind-boggling. We've now started talking with big partners, big tech companies.
Okay.
And they're also mind-boggled. It's amazing to see they said, oh, well, yeah, we can do this. And then we actually show them, beyond the talk. And then they walk away like, wow.
Wow.
So this platform is called With ZETA.
Okay.
And
how exciting.
Yeah, and it's going to be a big, big opportunity for us next year.
You're very specific in some areas with how you choose which cancers and how you choose the patients. Tell us more about how you find those particular specificities.
Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of it is you got to follow the data and follow the science. People always hear that. But the earlier you can understand that, the more rapidly you can get to that conclusion.
Okay.
So we try to draw mechanistic insights very, very early in our drug development program. And then we find what cancers can we exploit that mechanism. And so you always hear about these great drugs and then they fail. It's not because the molecule is necessarily bad. No one's going to go to a phase 3 with a bad molecule. It's because it wasn't targeted appropriately.
Okay.
The mechanism wasn't fully understood. It didn't make a meaningful enough impact above the standard of care.
Okay.
So we try to figure out all that much earlier in the process. And so what we try to do is understand the mechanism of action and understand what other drugs need to be combined with that drug or molecule. So oftentimes in drug development, you'll get an insight into a drug, then you have to go back and rethink your thesis.
Exactly.
And a lot of times companies don't do that.
Oh.
Because it's too late. They're in the middle of a trial. But what if you could know before? And that's our general approach, is let's get those insights about biomarkers, about patients, about mechanisms earlier in the process so that we can, as we go into the clinical trials, and we're in clinical trials now across all of our drugs, so we can exploit those insights and validate them or devalidate them.
You also have 3 potentially additional clinical trials in the queue for next year. Let's talk about 2026, which could be another blockbuster year.
Yeah, so we've got actually, it's great to bring that up, we've got 3 trials that are, the INDs have been cleared by the FDA, which is really great. And one of the trials is paid for by our partner in Denmark, which is also great, and
wonderful.
The Danish government. It's a trial in bladder cancer that we're starting, in advanced bladder cancer.
Okay.
There's not any great approval in the 3rd line setting, and that's where we're targeting our drug. We also have a trial in non-small cell lung cancer that's STK11 mutated, and that's a very aggressive lung cancer, and it's drug resistant. And so we've got a lot of high expectations in that trial. That'll be given in combination with 2 other checkpoint inhibitors and our drug LP-184. The third trial, which we're actively getting a lot of interest in, is in triple-negative breast cancer.
Oh my.
And as you know, triple-negative breast cancer is one of the most aggressive types, and when women stop responding to certain drugs like PARP inhibitors, their outcome is still pretty bad. And a lot of the breast cancers, you know, we've come to the point where we can manage them better, we understand them better, but triple-negative breast cancer is one of those that still needs better therapies. And so we have fast track in triple-negative breast cancer. So meaning if we have some really good results in this phase 1B, phase 2 trial, we can push for approval. So we're very excited. And the data around what we've seen so far with that drug is pretty phenomenal. So we're very excited about all 3 of those. But we also actually have another trial.
Oh my, okay.
Yeah. So we developed a drug for brain cancers. And so those trials are also planning on launching next year under a new company we're spinning out called Starlight Therapeutics.
Okay.
And I'm hoping I'll come back and talk to you guys about Starlight Therapeutics, which is only focused on brain cancer.
Wow, so much that you're working on. It's really so inspirational. Let's talk about one other thing I find is amazing, and that is that you are hoping to make your AI platform widely available to all drug developers. Again, that just puts it at a level that's unimaginable but wonderful. Tell me more.
Yeah, we're pretty excited and nervous about it at the same time. But really, any of the groups that I've demoed and allowed to play with the platform, which we're calling with ZETA, the feedback has been really great. And again, our goal is that rare cancers shouldn't be the last thing that drug developers think about. In fact, I would argue they need to be sometimes the first thing.
Okay.
Because these patients have oftentimes no hope. And there's not a lot of drugs approved for these. That's why they're rare.
Right.
The economics just don't make sense. The economics are broken. You can't spend $1 billion to treat 60 patients, maybe.
Of course.
And so, what if you don't have to do that? What if now you can crush your timeline, like I said, by 1/7 or 1/8? It makes the thinking about these rare cancers a lot more tractable. And very importantly, a lot of the models that work in regular cancers don't work in rare cancers. That's what makes them rare, right?
Right, exactly.
The biology's different. And so what we've done is we've put together a multi-agentic AI system platform, and our goal is to open it up to everyone. So take kind of a page out of the open source model and just make it widely available. Instead of sitting around and telling people at conferences and other places, hey, we have a great platform, open it up to the world. Let everyone use it.
I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
Truly.
Thanks.
Imagine just even more great levels coming to your company and to all the patients out there who are so desperate for help.
And also, the key goal with ZETA is really, like I said, is to make people excited to go and develop drugs every day, right? So imagine now you're re-inspiring like armies of great scientists and thinkers, and I think I think it will be revolutionary in drug development. And our goal is to go beyond rare cancer. Actually, we have teams and conversations now of taking our same architecture, similar model and approach of how we've built this to go across multiple disease areas.
Incredible.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, wish you the best of luck, Lantern Pharma President and CEO Panna Sharma. Delightful to see you again, and we wish you nothing but continued success.
Thanks.
Thank you.